Tighten up.
Yep.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching the Tasty Pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Hey, this is the Game Triple H from the WWE. You're watching RxMuscle.com, the truth in bodybuilding.
RxMuscle on YouTube. I am Tyler, your producer. Surprise in for Sid. He is completely under the weather, quote unquote, so we are covering for him. But Dave, as I understand it, it is at least not the monkeypox. So good news there, right?
I told Mr. G when he came, because, there's a case of monkeypox on the east coast of Florida. I said, if you bring monkeypox here, I said, I will quarantine you to your own island for the rest of your life, I said. So I don't even know if I believe that there is a real monkeypox, but, I saw someone put a meme up and they said that the correct way to pronounce monkeypox is the K is silent. And if the K is silent, it's moneypox, which sounds like, to me, another good reason for all these drug companies to make another vaccine. But you never know, right? I don't think he has monkeypox, though, so I'm sure he'll be back in action again in a couple of days.
Always good to get your facts from Facebook memes, though. Make sure that's where you get your news source from. And with that, why don't we get right into the questions? Of course, starting with the Dave Palumbo Experience app. This show sucks. Blows. Thoughts on vitamin IV drops, benefits, fad, and what additional compounds would you have included if they can offer it?
Yeah, first of all, the Dave Palumbo Experience app is my app. You can subscribe. You can download it at the iTunes store or the Android store. It's basically you have me as your personal trainer and coach in your pocket. It's all my videos and articles I've ever written and recorded in one place. We do a Q&A every single week, a video for all the app members. I also answer all the questions in an open forum in the app. We put up a workout up every single week. It's a great little resource for you guys to have. These are 2 questions that we got from the app members. And, IV drips and or just injectable vitamins in general are obviously something that's an interesting concept, because if you're putting it right into the bloodstream, then you don't have to worry about absorbability through the stomach. So there is some merit to that. I happen to take on a regular basis, and I've talked about this before, I take injectable glutathione every morning, 200 milligrams of it. The reason I do that is because glutathione is not orally absorbable. Now you could take the precursor to it, which is N-acetylcysteine, but how much are you really going to convert to glutathione? That's dependent on your body. So I like to take an injectable form of that. Now there are IV drips where people do like electrolytes. They do vitamin C. Some do some glutathione, in there. There's also actually people that do glutamine also in IV drips. I personally think it's a little bit of a fad type thing, but I prefer not to go to a mall and sit there with an IV in my arm. If I'm going to take an injectable vitamin, I'm going to buy some kind of a formulation I could do at home. It's just more convenient, a lot cheaper too. They're charging. I saw some of these places where they do vitamin B12 drips or even just an injection, and they're charging like $35 for it. You could buy like 3 bottles of vitamin B12 for $35. So to me, it's a little bit of a faddish thing. If you're not afraid to take an injection yourself, you can go to, TitanMedicalCenter.com. They have the best injectable vitamin mixes. They have a great Triimmune thing that I use a lot. If I ever get sick, I take it's vitamin C, glutathione, and zinc in an injectable form. I'll take that in the morning. If I'm not sick, I just do the regular glutathione. They have so many different formulations from rejuvenation type stuff, increase your sex drive formulations, increase longevity, where they increase NADH levels in your body. They have the healing peptides. So these are things you can do at home. For the average person who's not used to taking an injection, I think these little vitamin lounges seem like a more appealing thing, but they're really overpriced. And once again, if you want to do something, I think probably the most potent thing that you can possibly do that's going to help your health, immune system, and just general well-being and detoxification would be glutathione every day.
Second question from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I'm on your off-season app diet, but my gut after eating is bloated. It's normal, or is it normal, I think he means, or must I reduce the amount of food? I'm 230 pounds, not fat, only feeling bloating.
Yeah, when you're eating 6, 7, 8 times a day, you're going to be full all the time. There's always going to be food in your stomach. And that's why it's really important to take a fiber supplement. I know I talk about this like I'm a broken record, but you know what? People cannot hear it enough, because I know some people, they'll hear it the 99th time they'll hear it, they'll finally say, I'm going to try Dave's Fiberlyze and see how it works. And then all of a sudden, it completely changes their life. You need to take a high potency, high swell rate psyllium supplement. You also want to take some insoluble fiber with that as well. Fiberlyze contains both. If you take that twice a day, you're going to move waste through your intestinal tract at a much faster, more efficient rate. Because what happens is a lot of times you're eating and you're not pooping because your colon is weak. It's not moving the waste through efficiently, and you're backing up. So you feel like you're bloated all the time, because you are essentially your gut is filled with waste product that it should be removing, or it should have removed 2 days ago, and it's still sitting in there. So of course you're not going to want to eat your 8 meals for the day when you haven't pooped in 2 days. So very important that you go regularly. And there's obviously a lot of other health benefits to taking a fiber supplement, from lowering LDL cholesterol levels, keeping blood sugar levels lower, and keeping insulin levels lower, which is going to help you lose weight faster. It's going to keep better blood sugar control of your body, preventing any kind of colon cancer, because you're keeping things moving through your gut. You're keeping the colon in better shape, and it's going to prevent you from getting any kind of like hemorrhoids down there, because a lot of hemorrhoids are caused by forcing out impacted waste that's been there in your colon for days, and it rips the tissue down there, and it's just not good for, if you have hemorrhoids or if you have a family history of that, taking a fiber supplement twice a day, you'll never get hemorrhoids, because it just makes all the waste products just kind of leave your body effortlessly, and that's what you want. So hopefully this helped answer your question. Once again, it's normal to feel like you have a lot of stuff in your stomach when you're eating that many times a day, but you must keep that waste moving efficiently.
I'll tell you what, I just, as you know, went away on a little shoot last week up in Northport, and I forgot my Fiberlyze.
Oh, not a good idea.
Luckily, I had to have Samantha come and bring it a few days so I could bring that Fiberlyze.
You know that there's something really works well when you have people traveling 2 hours to bring you something that is as frivolous as like a fiber supplement. I freaked out once. I went on a trip and I forgot to bring it. I went to the store. I was looking. Actually, this is a true story. I was actually in Dubai, and I forgot my fiber, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be here for like 5 days. So I went to this store, and they had these like little pills, like psyllium pills that I was popping. I popped like 35 of them or something like that to go to the bathroom once. And thank God one of my clients was actually there in Dubai, and he actually brought me like 5 days worth of my Fiberlyze product that he had imported from the U.S. into Dubai. So he saved my life. But that's how desperate you get sometimes when you don't use a fiber supplement. It just, once you start using it, you'll understand why people continue to use it and praise it so much, because it actually does work.
No, it's like crack, but actually healthy. You can't stop
crack.
using it. Anyways, back to the questions. From DEJWIKK. Who is harder to work with? I think you've been asked this before. Pros or amateurs?
Oh, definitely pros, because I think they demand more in the sense that, if you're a pro, you've won a major competition, obviously. So you're at an elite level already. And then once you enter the pro ranks, now you're competing against all the guys that just beat you prior to that. So it's a much more competitive arena. And obviously, anyone who turns pro is obviously gifted in a sense, but there's always people that are better than you, unfortunately. So I think, pros, might look their best on stage, but if they don't place well, a lot of times they're very demanding on their coaches. Like maybe the coach didn't do something right. And then you have other coaches that are trying to poach away your clients from you by telling them, oh, if I help you, you'll do even better, So I think, the pros are harder. The amateur guys, once they find, or women, find someone who they're comfortable with and work well with, and if you get them in great shape, they're very appreciative usually. And that usually results in a good relationship. And so, but I've worked with people that were, beginners that were pain in the asses and and just never happy about, anything you tell them. And a lot of times it's just because these are people that don't train hard, or they have like some kind of, disorder where they're afraid to eat, or they're afraid to, do certain things, and they just don't get the results that they want. So it's not just pros versus amateurs. There's just got people that are high maintenance people in general, and then there's people that are, that are not, and that are appreciative people. So, and I don't mind. I work with everyone. I very rarely in the history of my coaching business for 25 plus years, I've maybe given 2 people back their money that I can remember. Only 2 people. In other words, when I say I gave back their money, I mean they were so crazy that I couldn't work with them. I'm just like, here, take your money back. I can't do this. Only 2 people. And that's out of thousands of people I've worked with. So most people are pretty good.
Moving on to aesthetics nutrition. Have you ever seen a client reverse their kidney disease in stage 3?
Staging is weird because, they stage people based on creatinine levels and stuff like that. So sometimes creatinine is artificially elevated because maybe the person's working out or they're taking a creatine supplement. I've seen people reverse kidney disease when their creatinines are in the 2 range, the 2 point something range. You should be under 1.35. I think that's the top limit. And if you're creeping into the 2s, that's very dangerous territory. But I've seen total reversals of those. I've worked with people that have reversed it and had no problems. Once you get into the 3s and higher, that's usually you've done so much damage to your kidneys that it's hard to reverse. Now, I have a friend of mine who's in the 3s. He's been in there for like 15 years or something like that, and he's just stable. That's just his normal levels. He's not getting any worse. He's not getting any better, but he's fine. He can function. He doesn't have any problem. He doesn't go higher than that, and that's his normal level. Now, obviously, he's got kidney damage, but he has stabilized it. So that's the goal a lot of times. Sometimes when you're a little higher than you should be, you might never come back to normal, but you will be able to stabilize it. Now, the key is once you first see a high creatinine, and usually if you're taking blood work every 6 months to a year, you'll see it. All of a sudden, you'll have a high one. That doesn't mean you're doomed to have kidney failure, okay? That's your warning. Okay, now I have to reverse this and bring it down. And that's what I do with clients. If I have them come back with high creatinines, I work with them to get it down. And we do not go back on a higher protein diet. We do not go back on any kind of gear until we get that level down to normal. Once it's stable and down to normal, then we can resume what we're doing. So the kidneys will regenerate, but they regenerate at a much slower rate than the liver does. The liver is a really good regenerator. So you got to sometimes take it could take 3-4 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year before the kidneys will fully regenerate themselves to get back to the old form. The key is not allowing it to get too far gone where the liver starts laying down like collagen and sclerotic tissue where it's going to permanently scar the kidneys, excuse me.
Black belt bodybuilding. Will you get more results from winstrol starting at 4 weeks out from a show versus just using it the week of the show? Or will the cosmetic look be the same either way?
Yeah, winstrol's not going to do anything if you do it for a week, okay? Steroids are not like fast, acting type compounds that, like you could take clenbuterol for 4 days and you probably burn some fat from it. It works that fast. Steroids are longer acting. Any hormones in general usually are longer acting things. Now, winstrol gets into your system faster, but it's not going to really start exhibiting any of its effects probably for like 2 weeks or so before you're going to really say, oh shit, I look better. So I usually recommend people take winstrol for 6 to 8 weeks before a show.
There you have it. Let's see. Bodybuilding and wrestling. Hi, Dave. When's the best time to have a cheat meal? On leg day or the night before? Eat carbs every day, and I'm starving every time.
Yeah, if you want to really have a good leg workout, I would have the cheat meal the night before the leg day because then you'll be all carved up. So by the time you get to the gym, you're going to be blasting out of your skin and you'll probably get a really good workout. Plus, you'll have a lot of glycogen loaded into those muscles. So Yeah, the day before is usually when you want to fuel yourself. Like if when I was a runner, when we would carb up a little bit before a race so that we'd have a lot of glycogen in our muscles, you don't do it the morning of the race. You do it the night before so that your body has time to store all those carbs as glycogen. Same thing with bodybuilding.
Let's see, Sufyan77. Dave's thoughts on growth hormone peptides and dosage if you're on a budget.
If you're on a budget, don't use growth hormone because it's very expensive. But, I think that 2 IUs of GH per day is a effective dose, meaning that, a lot of guys think, well, I can't afford to take GH because I can't take 6 IUs a day. Well, you don't really need to take 6 IUs a day. You can take 2 IUs a day and you'll get good results from that. So if you're on a budget, I would stick with 2 IUs a day. That's what we used back in the 90s. No one had... The growth hormone was really expensive back then. No one had that kind of cash. And if you can use 2 IUs of GH, you were probably using more than most people were using because most people couldn't even afford it or weren't using any of it. So 2 IUs per day is the best way to go. The peptides that stimulate GH release just are not as effective as GH. Now, if you can't afford any GH and you have to pick a peptide like, one of the injectable or the oral, MK677, you can do that too. You're just not going to get the same results as taking injectable GH.
Vincent something is drinking 2 to 3 egg white shakes a day with almond butter and unsweetened almond milk harsh on the kidneys?
No, I don't. Whether you drink the protein or you eat it, it's the same thing. If you eat like a meal and you chew it up and you swallow it into your stomach, that meal is not leaving your stomach until it's liquid. And the liquid that it becomes is what they call chyme. Chyme, it's like a mush, basically. And that mush moves out of the stomach then, and it goes into the intestinal tract, which is where it gets further, digested and absorbed. So if you're mushing it up for your body by drinking a shake, it'll get absorbed faster, but it's not going to be any worse or better for you in that sense. As long as you're not, I know some guys that used to do, because it's easy to swallow, a shake, they would put 100 or 150 grams of protein in one shake, which is idiotic because that's too much protein for your body to process. And that could definitely put a strain on your digestive organs, on your kidneys, to flush out all that nitrogenous waste. And it really is, quote, a waste because you're not going to be able to utilize all that protein. Remember, the body has no storage facility for protein. It can't store protein. So if you eat too much at one meal, the body has to either break it down or turn it into glucose and get rid of it. There's no place it can say, hey, let's hold this for later because don't think he's going to eat any protein later and we'll use this later. There's no glycogen storage like we have for carbs or fat storage like we have for fats, fat cells like we have for fat. So you have to spread your protein throughout the day.
This next question is actually for me, real quick. Is our interview at 1:15 or 1:30?
I think it might be my friend Blake. I think it's 1:30 if you're watching Blake.
We're going to keep rolling on. We'll have plenty of time to keep 30 minutes at least. Moving on to Jan Smole 22. I haven't been using any orals. Currently only on Test E and Masteron every other day. 750 mg tests and 300 mgs masteron per week. My blood work came back and I have very elevated levels of liver enzymes, like 10 times. But each time so far, I haven't had any elevation, even on harder cycles with orals included. Haven't been drinking or taking meds. What could be the reason for this elevation?
Well, when we say liver enzymes, we're talking about the metabolic enzymes that exist inside the cells that help the cells to, do various functions, oxidize fats, metabolize carbohydrates, and other housekeeping stuff in this. It's not important. That's what these enzymes do. So the liver, let's say we took the liver and we completely obliterated it. We chopped it into pieces and we wanted to measure how much liver enzyme would leak out of that. You probably wouldn't get 10 times the normal level, okay? Because there's not enough liver to produce that much enzyme. The only place that all that liver, those enzymes can come from would be from damaged muscle tissue. So when you work out really hard in the gym and you break down a lot of skeletal muscle, those enzymes are the same enzymes that are in the liver cells. They leak into the bloodstream, and then you go for blood work. I know guys that do like a hard leg workout. They go give blood after that to get their blood work taken, and then they wonder why all their levels are screwed up because they've just damaged enormous amounts of muscle, leaked all these enzymes into the bloodstream. The blood work picks this up, and just assumes it's liver enzymes. Oh, yeah, the liver must be damaged because why are these enzymes leaking out? Because no normal person damages that much muscle tissue on a regular basis. Bodybuilders, people who work out very extremely, are a different set of creatures. We really need a different set of parameters on blood work when they look at it, because they have to ask you this. Hey, do you work out every day? Yeah, well, I break down a ton of muscle. Of course you're going to have high liver enzymes. It's not liver. It's skeletal muscle enzymes, if you want to call it anything. It's metabolic enzymes. So depending on how hard you've worked out the day before or the day of the blood work, it will dictate how high those enzyme levels are. Unless you take like 2 or 3 weeks off from working out consistently. And when I had my shoulders done, I did that. I couldn't work out. They didn't want me training at all. I would go for blood work. My liver enzymes would be completely normal. And they never were normal my whole life. Even when I was a runner, like before I ever even knew anything about steroids, they were high because I would be exercising at a very, intense rate. Nowadays, once I went back to the gym, I went for blood work recently, and my enzymes are high again, and not crazy high, but a little high. And they're like, "Oh, I don't understand why this is." Well, because I'm working out again. It's such a cause and effect. It's so obvious. Why some doctors don't understand this, I have no idea.
There you have it. Moving on to Ken A. Smith. Dave, your thoughts on using HGC and clomid only to increase testosterone levels, starting with HGC and then introducing clomid after week 6 to increase those levels.
You mean HCG, yeah.
That's what he meant. That's
yes.
definitely not what he got that wrong.
Oh,
I'm just making sure I get it right from them.
Human chorionic gonadotropin, which I heard is not really being made generically anymore. It's only the brand name Pregnol is making it now. But it is still available. That increases your body's natural production of testosterone. So it basically stimulates the Leydig cells in the testicles to produce testosterone. When I have guys come off a cycle and do a PCT or post-cycle therapy type thing, I usually have them do 2 weeks, 5 shots of HCG at 2,000 IUs, which is going to turn on the testicles. And then I'll have them do 2 weeks or so of clomid or Nolvadex. Both are estrogen receptor blockers. And when you block estrogen receptors in the hypothalamus of the brain, you increase the pituitary output of LH and FSH, which basically you're turning on your pituitary gland again. So first you turn on the testicles, so they're producing testosterone. Then you turn the pituitary gland on, which is the stimulus for the testicles. And now your body theoretically is turned back on. Now, will it stay on or not? That might take a couple months. Who knows? Everyone's body's a little different, but that's the right way to stimulate that. I usually have guys also take my testolyze product during this off period and PCT period, because that will keep estrogen and DHT levels lower, natural testosterone levels higher, so your sex drive will be better, your recovery from workouts will be better. And this is typical. I mean, the typical PCT, I know I've done a million videos on it, but it is worth repeating because people have a lot of stress and anxiety about going off cycle. It's not that hard. Follow the protocol. It works.
There you go. I'm going to take a stab of an answer at this next one. It's probably from Carlos Fit NYC. When someone keeps changing coaches too many times, do you think this is the athlete's fault?
Yeah, I think it usually probably. I think a lot of athletes will switch coaches because they don't like the results they got at the show. Not necessarily they don't like the way they look. They just didn't place well. And there's a lot of coaches out there will tell them, hey, I can get you to place higher. I know this person. I know that person. I can help you look better. So some people buy into the Kool-Aid. Now I like to sometimes make analogies from different areas of life. There's something a lot of guys. I breed snakes, obviously, and there's certain species of snakes that are really hard to breed. And the biggest mistake you can make is that constantly changing your parameters. So in other words, it didn't breed last year, so I'm going to make them cooler this year. They didn't breed this year. Well, I'm going to put them outside this year, next year. They didn't breed outside. Well, I'm going to put them in a warmer area this year and try and you keep trying different things. Meanwhile, if you would have stuck with the same thing consistently, eventually they would have bred. It's just they just weren't ready. So same thing, if you have a coach that you've had success with, I'm not saying to stick with a coach that you have no success with, but if you had a coach that you've had success with, why switch? There's no reason to. If you have a bad show, you have a bad show. It's not the coach's fault necessarily. A lot of the time, it's just either people were better than you, you had an off week, stuff was going on in your life, you couldn't focus, maybe you had COVID. Try to be consistent. The people who are the most consistent throughout their whole career tend to have the best, most reproducible results.
Let's go to some more recent questions popping in on the official_RxMuscle Instagram. Fitness for Life 07 is the highest dose of ramipril 20 milligrams. I heard at that dose it can have a lot of side effects.
I personally take 5 milligrams of ramipril twice a day, so I guess that's 10 milligrams per day. I think you could take up to 20. I think that, and before they start trying to add other stuff or change the blood pressure med, usually at that dose, most people's blood pressure is controlled. If it's not, you probably have some other issues going on. If you're a bodybuilder and they have to add like a diuretic like Diazide or something like that to your regimen because they cannot control your blood pressure, you're doing something really wrong. Or, there is a certain circumstance where people genetically just have a high blood pressure issue that's uncontrollable. But for most people, they should be controlled with ramipril or even any of the angiotensin receptor blockers. Very rarely do I see someone who's not. Now, sometimes I see guys that are on tremendous amounts of trenbolone. That really jacks your blood pressure up. Some of these peptides will raise even melanotan, the tanning peptide, raises blood pressure. So watch out for little things that are maybe causing your blood pressure to be jacked up that you didn't even realize that. And you might want to have to stop that. Look, if I'm taking trenbolone and my blood pressure's through the roof and uncontrollable, even with blood pressure meds, I'm going off the trenbolone because I don't want to mess up my kidneys. And that's what you have to think in your head. If you can't control the blood pressure because of something you're doing to yourself or taking, then switch to something else.
Let's see. Jay Golerberg, is it common to be extremely tired when using clenbuterol? I feels like my body is exhausted after I take my clen, even though I only take it 20 mcgs each intake and make 80 mcgs per day.
It's funny that the guy says this because I always joke around. A lot of people say, "Oh, should I be afraid to take clenbuterol before bed? It's going to keep me up." Clenbuterol is not a stimulant. Okay, the first week or two you take it, you can get a little bit of a tremor from it. It doesn't even raise blood pressure unless you take too many pills at one time. This person is separating the pills, which is good. That's the right way. It actually will lower your blood pressure a little bit because it dilates your blood vessels. A lot of people just don't understand how clenbuterol works. Once you've gotten through that first 2-week period, literally, I always say this, I could take a pill and fall asleep. I used to take a clenbuterol and go in a tanning bed for like an hour and sleep like a freaking baby. The stuff doesn't make you tired at all. Matter of fact, it might help you sleep, and I don't know if it has a relaxation effect on it, only because it lowers blood pressure. It might just keep your, because think about it, when you lower blood pressure, okay, it kind of takes that rapid heart rate away a little bit, unless you're taking too much, obviously, and it might just relax you. I don't know, but I noticed the same thing. I would have a relaxation effect from clenbuterol. It wasn't like I wanted to pass out, but it definitely relaxed me, and so take it for what it's worth. It's not a stimulant in the sense that like caffeine would be. A lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people perpetrate this idea that clenbuterol is a stimulant. It's not.
Alrighty. Let's see. Oh, maybe you could suss this one out. Hardcore Dan says, I started taking your testolyze, and when I train, I'm getting serious lactic acid buildup. Is this normal? Still moving the same weights and reps? Please explain. Thanks. Never
heard that. That I've never heard. There's really no science to really indicate what, Testolyze, what it does is it lowers DHT levels, which we know if they're too high, you can get prostate issues from that, hair loss, hair thinning, acne, side effects in women like masculinizing side effects. So that's what DHT does. Estrogen, if it's too high, obviously can cause fluid retention and stuff like that. And higher testosterone is just going to make you build and repair muscle better and have a better sex drive. So I don't see why it would increase lactic acid. That doesn't make sense. I'm sure it's probably something else you're taking you didn't realize, but it doesn't. There's no real. That's not a side effect I've ever heard anyone complain of.
Let's see. Squeeze a few more in here. Here's an interesting one. Lag, no excuses. How to improve bone density?
I'm always amused by people that are who have osteoporosis and that don't know how to. They're taking drugs to combat it and all these things. And the best way to increase bone density is to work out with weights. And the reason is because think about what the muscles do. The muscles are attached to a bone. Okay, so when the muscles contract, they're contracting on this bone, which is trying to hold it, the body rigid. when the muscles contract on the bone is basically subjected to force. That force tells the bone, you better be stronger and denser to be able to sustain these increasing muscles that are getting stronger and bigger. So muscle growth goes along with bone density and bone thickness. So the best thing to tell people to do if they have osteoporosis or they have the beginnings of osteoporosis is weight train, okay? Resistance training, I'm not talking about cardio. I'm talking about resistance training, lifting weights that are challenging to you, because that will increase bone density. And I don't know why more people don't do it, especially women who have, bone density issues. Obviously, anabolic steroids will increase muscle mass and bone density because they go together, obviously. And that was originally what a lot of these drugs were created for women with osteoporosis or, the small population of men that might have osteoporosis. But you got to weight train. You can't just take the drugs. You got to actually do the training because the muscle building aspect of weight training is going to build density in the bones as well.
Let's squeeze a few more in. Where'd it go? All right. When's the best time to have a cheat meal? On leg day or the night before?
We did that one already.
We did already?
Yes.
Shoot, my bad. All right, let's get to the big last one then.
Last question.
And it's regarding Big Ramy from Classic Physique Nash. Bold prediction. Do you think Ramy will ever return to the Olympia stage to defend his title?
I hear he's going to become a movie star. I heard he's in a Claude Van Damme movie or a little Claude Van Damme prank. I would think it would be a shame if Ramy did not come back and defend that Olympia title. I think we're going to hear some grand excuse about what someone died in his family or was kidnapped or something like that, and he'll be back in the fray again. I don't know. Ramy, a lot of people, I didn't realize this myself, but I would talk to a few people in the Middle East. Ramy's a very big celebrity there. He's like a movie star type, level celebrity. So when he walks out in public, people go crazy. They know who he is. Bodybuilding is a big deal there. It's like, if Tom Brady here is probably the most well-known football player, Ramy in the Middle East is like Tom Brady because they don't have American football there. They have bodybuilding and they have soccer. That's what they like there. And so he probably has everyone, paying for everything for him, rolling out the red carpet for him. He's enjoying his life. He's in his off season right now. I'm sure he's training, but he probably, doing the bodybuilding stuff is meaningless to him. He's enjoying being a celebrity. I'm sure, there's a lot of people hobnobbing around him, throwing money at him and everything like that. And I could understand, if I had that level of celebrity in the Middle East and I lived in the Middle East, that I would probably enjoy it as well. I hope we see him on an Olympia stage. He's an absolute freak. No one wants to not have an Olympia with Big Ramy in it. I just don't understand what his lack of communication is. He has definitely communication issues with the bodybuilding world. He should be, and if he doesn't want to communicate himself, he should have an agent who's doing it for him, saying, "Hey, Big Ramy can't make it to Pittsburgh. Sorry, we don't want to, leave you hanging. It's a week out. He just can't do it. He's got another engagement someplace else." End of story. But there's a lack of that communication. I think that's what's frustrating to a lot of people.
And with that, that'll do it for us on this Ask Dave Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. Sid, hope you feel better real soon, man. Sorry you're under the weather. And yeah, see you guys next time.